Hello and welcome to San Lando Sound Waves. I'm Sandy Denslow and this is week 14, day 68. Today's reading is from Numbers 9:15 through 23, the cloud above the tabernacle. On the day the tabernacle, the tent of the covenant law, was set up and the cloud covered it. From evening till morning, the cloud above the tabernacle looked like fire. That is how it continued to be. The cloud covered it, and at night it looked like fire. Whenever the cloud lifted from the tent, the Israelites set out. Wherever the cloud settled, the Israelites encamped. At the Lord's command, the Israelites set out, and at his command, they encamped. As long as the cloud stayed over the tabernacle, they remained encamped. When the cloud remained over the tabernacle a long time, the Israelites obeyed the Lord's order and did not set out. Sometimes the cloud was over the tabernacle only a few days. At the Lord's command, they would encamp, and then at his command, they would set out. Sometimes the cloud stayed only from evening till morning, and when it lifted in the morning, they set out. Whether by day or by night, whenever the cloud lifted, they set out. Whether the cloud stayed over the tabernacle for 2 days, or a month, or a year, the Israelites would remain in camp and not set out. But when it lifted, they would set out. At the Lord's command, they encamped, and at the Lord's command, they set out. They obeyed the Lord's order, in accordance with his command through Moses. Now let's consider our 7 questions or our 7 arrows from our devotion book. What did this passage say? What did this passage mean to its original audience? What does this passage tell us about God? What does this passage tell us about humanity? What does this passage demand of me? And how can I change the way that I relate to people? And what does this passage prompt me to pray to God? So now let's look at our devotional, and it's on page 84 of our book, The 7 Arrows. God actively led his people from the release in Egypt to the promised land. His work was vividly seen in their deliverance from Egypt, as he demonstrated his might and power through the plagues and the crossing of the Red Sea. Once the nation was free, God continued to manifest his leadership in the form of a cloud during the day and fire by night. This visible demonstration of the presence of God provided clear guidance as to when they were to move on and what direction to go in. As the people would soon learn, they were wholly dependent on God's leadership. It would be deadly for the people to move without his presence. So long as they followed his leading and moved when and how he directed, they would be assured of a smooth passage. The submission of God's nation to the leadership of God proves a pattern of all God's people who seek to follow him on his mission in the world. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you tune in tomorrow.